your ability to carry your department on your own shoulders. So we are glad to have you here in this capacity. And if you'll tell us about what how MDHA's plans intersect with what Metro is doing for y'all, then we'll make sure that we're supporting you in every way we can.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can everyone hear me? Make sure I'm projecting today since I'm by myself for a change. I'm Troy White. I'm the Executive Director of MDHA. I am actually going to start. I have a couple of bullets I want to update everyone on, and then I'll talk a little bit about your question, how we can work with Metro. So 8 months into the job, and I'm loving Nashville and loving this opportunity. So I want to be real clear and direct about that. The mission of MDHA is to create affordable housing opportunities, support neighborhoods, strengthen communities, and help build a greater Nashville. I believe that's what we're all about. What I want to tell you all is in 8 months, the board and I have worked very diligently. A couple of the things that we've done, I want to update everyone on. So the board has approved a 5-year strategic plan for MDHA. I want to give members of this committee the goals. So we have 4 broad goals: preserve and expand affordable housing in Metropolitan, Nashville, and Davidson County. Our second goal is to provide sustainable and healthy communities. Our third goal is to cultivate, enhance, and evaluate strategic partners to better serve residents. And our final goal is continuously improve MDHA's operation. So in the spirit of those high-level goals, I want to give everyone, which I'm often asked at MDHA in meetings, where are we at with Casey Place? I'm often asked by members of council where we're at. So I want to give you an update on Casey Place and give you a new projected target of how we're going to complete Casey Place. So since I've been here, we have turned over Red Oak townhomes, 44 units on the Casey footprint in November of 2021. We also broke ground recently, and Council Member Withers was there with us for the groundbreaking for Cherry Oaks, which is a 96-unit development right outside my office. That happened in May. It's an 18-month construction schedule, so we're trying to compress our construction schedules. We're in the process of putting in an application for a tax credit application for 5th and Summer. So we're looking at 107 units on 5th and Summer. We're looking for a groundbreaking for 5th and Summer in the fall, winter of this year. That is a 24-month construction schedule. And then in February of next year, we're looking to combine Boscobo 5 and 6, which is a little over 200 units, about 203 units, and put in a tax credit application in February. We also are working through, with the help of Mayor Cooper, the infrastructure money, so we're doing utility projects on the Casey site. We also are in the planning for the 5th Street sewer separation project. That is going to be a big deal for East Nashville. We're looking to kick that project off, working with the Water Department in the summer, fall of 2023. The original Casey plan called for a 15 to 20 year process to build out Casey. We now have adjusted those dates to look at that as more of a 10 to 15 year, pending the award of tax credits and equity investment annually. So as I'm projecting to members of this committee, we're being much more assertive at going after tax credits and equity money so that we can speed up the pace. Napier-Sudicum, I'm going to flip the page real quickly. So Napier-Sudicum would be our next Envision project. We are working diligently on a different financing structure. What I realized quickly when I joined MDHA is in order to do these Envisions concurrently, we would have to use the same scarce tax credit resource. It's very limited. So now we're looking at a financing process that we think we can jumpstart the Napier-Sudicum project. That plan was completed in 2018 with 14 phases. We believe we can knock that project from 15 to 20 years down to 10 to 15. That financing is very complicated. That project, when that plan was completed, and for those that have seen it, was $561 million. We're in excess of $700 million to do the Napier-Sudicum plan. I also today want to let the members know that Randy Rogers was completed in April 2022 off of Rosa Parks Boulevard. Randy Rogers is 100 units. We've added 50 new affordable units. We're moving families from Cheatham Place into Randy Rogers and moving families off our waiting list into Cheatham Place. I want to address challenges real quickly. As my colleague Steve talked about challenges, I would be remiss to say this is not easy. This is very difficult work in these times. So we know that the construction costs have gone up. I'm seeing 20 to 30% increases in construction costs. Supply costs are up. Labor costs are always a tricky deal for us at MDHA. In spite of that, our last phase of Cherry Oak, we had a $2.3 million overrun and were able to value engineer nearly $1 million off the project. We also got assistance from THDA for additional funding to help us cash flow that project. From an organizational standpoint, we suffer as everyone else with challenges of staffing. We've got about 10% of our workforce. We have vacant positions, primarily in our maintenance department. So we're struggling to get not only the labor maintenance, but the skilled workers are really hard to get. We're looking at alternative ways to do that. So those are the areas. To answer the chairperson's question, we are looking to be a better partner with Metropolitan government. We have been doing that for 8 months that I've been here. I work very diligently with the majority of the departments in Metro, and we're looking to expand our partnerships, public-private, to build faster. We're also looking to have a more robust outlook with the nonprofit community. So I believe, housing is hard. Right? It's very hard, but it is a bedrock of what we all need. I'm very focused on making sure that MDHA has a capital H in its name. And my 7 board members will stand with me on that. I say it quite often that we've got to focus on housing development. That is something that is needed for Nashville. Thank you. I'll take any questions that folks may have.
Thank you for that presentation. Other questions from council members? Councilmember Syracuse.
Thank you, Chair. Well done. Good presentation. Thank you for all you do. I'm curious if you've given any thought about, and it's an irony that you went after we go, the intersection between affordability and transit. And have you given any thought about the use of the tool that the state allows us with transit-oriented redevelopment districts that I made an attempt in my first term that I still have scars on, but I've certainly learned a lot. Have you given any thought about the reintroduction of that tool potentially?
We're reviewing all tools in the toolbox. I'm very familiar with TODs, particularly from my time in Charlotte, and I know you know this, of what they've done with the light rail in Charlotte and how they've built out around the entire light rail. Atlanta has done it through Invest Atlanta, kind of with their tools. So, I think going to 2023 for us, there's no tool in the toolbox we can't look at this point. I just feel this sense of urgency and we're behind, so it is something we will look at. I'll make sure my office reaches out to you so we can have a one-on-one and kind of talk about it. But there are great advantages to those transit-oriented developments. I talked about 2, Charlotte and Atlanta, and both of those places I've had the pleasure of working in and seeing the growth of those cities around those transit corridors.
Thank you so much. I look forward to having the conversation. Thank you.
Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Chair. My question is in regards to expanding, MDHA's footprint and helping with affordability. In your 8 months, have you heard or have there been discussions about ways, or maybe MDHA could acquire some of these rundown or abandoned motels, or acquire some apartment complexes in some of our blighted areas to kind of turn those into MDHA properties and kind of help improve the look of the areas while at the same time providing some safe and protected affordable housing?
So I haven't looked directly at hotels, but we are looking at a variety of apartment complexes, particularly those that come out of the tax credit compliance period, and whether a prudent acquisition could be put together for us. We've also had those conversations high level with our partner Amazon in terms of acquisition strategy. So simplistically, yes, we're looking at that as another tool in the toolbox, not specifically to the hotel model, and I've seen those done for SROs and that type of thing. But we are looking at, in order for us to fully build out, we've got to look at acquisitions of expiring tax credit deals, some that have the old Section 8 project base where we may be able to buy, put a little in, and maintain affordability. So it is on my radar.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good question. Councilmember Cash, did you have a question? Yeah.
Thank you. I asked about this last year when the group was here presenting, and it's about plans. In our city, we have a shortage of affordable childcare options, and I would suspect that impacts MDHA families. So I guess I'm wondering, and I think there was some interest a year ago when I asked the question, what help you all give for childcare in terms of like allowing parents to take care of other children in their homes. We passed a bill just a couple of weeks ago that makes that a little bit easier for a few more kids, and I know that in the committee where that was discussed and proposed, helping MDHA families was a part of the intent of the impetus for that bill. What can you tell me about childcare options and plans to help families find good affordable childcare?
So so when you think about building a community, everything is involved with the community. We're not a child care direct provider, although, I serve on the MAC board, so they do early child care really, really well. So part of how we look at our developments is what are the services and the agencies within our area that we serve and how we can work with them. In my short 8 months, I have talked to an organization that does exactly what you've talked about. We've had a couple of conversations, but nothing that's leading to a direct process. What I will say is this, one of the things that we're looking at is how we provide holistic services to all our residents. And by that, I mean, we used to have a pretty robust FSS and ROS programs. When we converted to RAD, we became ineligible for those funds. Part of my thought process is if we're going to do childcare, we want to partner with those that do it really, really well and help facilitate that. But we also need to uplift the families that reside in our portfolio. So part of that is trying to figure out how we can provide human services to those families. It's more than building our way out of the affordable housing crisis. It's literally moving people, upward from a low-income unit to a tax credit unit. And then I've created, by moving that family, and now I've created an affordable unit for another family to move into. So I think the short answer is I'm aware of it, but we're working, looking at our sites as we look to recapitalize them with what all the services are in those neighborhoods, how we can tap those services first, and then work outward from that strategy.
Thanks. Are MDHA residents able to take care of children in their home and on one side earn some money and on the other side provide a needed service for other residents who are parents?
So I'd have to get back to you. I've not
thanks.
done an analysis in 8 months on that.
Thanks.
And if you could send that information to Director Darby, then she can put it on our resource page, so we'll all have that information. That would be great. Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. White, for being here. I am very fond of the work that you've done over the past 8 months, and especially the naming of legacy sites and things of that nature. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate the collaborative efforts that you're making working with other departments. I, like Councilmember Bradford, not necessarily hotel motels, but I look at these schools that we have that are vacant and wondering if we could turn that into some attainable housing, possibly for teachers, and that way we can still keep some of the names of people like Robert E. Lillard and keep their names and the legacies intact, provide some attainable housing for teachers, because we know that things in Nashville are no longer affordable. And just wondering if that could be a possibility in turning those things into living quarters for those teachers that are now having to have 2 and 3 roommates just to be able to stay here in Davidson County.
So thank you for the question, Council Member. What I will say is this. Yes, we are exploring that I've had conversations with Dr. Battle on school land and structures. So it is yet another tool in the toolbox. I do know that the RED program through the Urban League is looking at a project with the school, and I've told the Urban League MDHA will step up and be a partner with those developers to help build that out and provide construction services on that. In terms of teacher housing, I want the committee to know, I mean, my last meeting with the school director, as I was leaving, she said, I have one more question for you. And to your point, council member, she said, can you build housing for my teachers? They can't afford to live here. And I said, yes, Dr. Battle, let me look into that. So I do have a group looking at different models around the country that have done that. I told her we need to really look at infill opportunities for small contractors, which generates economics, and that we would be able to bring something to the table with it. So I do have a follow-up. I've also offered Dr. Battle and her team, and we're working on a meeting to see what we've done at Casey. So we do have a level of market rate in workforce housing that is actually below the market. So we do have that in our portfolio, and it is something that is part of our overarching strategic plan to come up with a land use strategy and work with those partners to operationalize it so that we can build it quicker. So it is on my radar, council member.
So I don't know if you're aware, but I'm going to just give you this little history. There's a Metro Teachers Credit Union on Jefferson Street, and they actually have property at 16th and Jefferson. MDHA was going to purchase that property and the property where the credit union is right now and build the apartments that is now at 10th and Jefferson. But things really didn't work out the way that it should have. But I would venture to say that you could maybe go back and explore that and make the credit union a partner of yours in creating this, and you could really do the same type of housing right there. It's close to Fisk, Meharry, and Tennessee State University, and they are always in need of housing, not only for students, but for their teachers and for visitors and all of that. And, you know, a lot of students leave Fisk and go to Meharry, so they are 8-year residents, if nothing else. But just thought I'd give you a little history about it. Maybe we can talk later and we can talk about that whole process.
Okay.
Great idea. Councilmember Suara.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Dr. White, for your presentation. I echo what everyone has said for the great work that you're doing. The area that I wanted to go to, and I think when you and I met, I mentioned this a while back, is that when we did the study on evictions, majority of the evictions were from MDHA. I know with COVID, we were able to stop evictions. We were able to also use some COVID money to do some things. Now that the COVID money is out of the way, what is the plan with keeping people in their homes, even those that are in MDHA properties?
So, let me clarify first. Being one of the largest landlords, we're going to have the largest eviction rate. So I just want to make it real clear. We're the largest affordable landlord, so we're going to have a high eviction rate. So we have not evicted a family for non-payment since COVID happened. So where we're at now is we're working with Housing Court with Judge Bell, and we've set up and did our first court process in April. And at that process, Judge Bell was there for us to do repayment agreements. Our attorney was there, and we had legal services there because I believe every resident deserves a representation, right? So we went through a process. I was told it went really, really well with Judge Bell, and it's a deterrent to the detainer warrant process for evictions. Part of those services, so it's the court, it's MDHA, it's legal services, and it's MAC. And MAC's providing that extra level of service and support for the families. So going forward, we intend to use the repayment agreement process through the court. Now, clearly part of our model and my budget, there's a significant amount of my budget that's a rental. And if we don't collect rent, you all know what will happen. So what we're trying to do is defer that process through the court system, an off-docket court system, and then ensure that MAC, us, and others are at the table to make sure those families have whatever services that they may need. So that's where we're at right now. I can tell you factually, there's not been one family evicted for non-payment to date. We had a pretty good, robust court process. We have a follow-up in June. And then we're going to, with Judge Bell's expertise, kind of look at it. Now, we haven't moved forward beyond that part of it, and I can't guarantee Metro Council because, quite frankly, it is a significant amount of my operation to collect rent. And then, as you all know, because we're RAD, there's federal rules and things that I have to abide by the feds, or they cut off my federal money, which is pretty big operating money. So, one of the strategies that I said was, you had this tool before COVID, let's operationalize it. Judge Bell's been wonderful to work with. Dr. Kroom at MAC has been wonderful. Legal Aid came to the table, and they've been wonderful to work with. And we really want to get to the root of the non-payment. And, with MAC there that does employability, I'm working with the Urban League on some things as well. So what we want to get to is what is causing the non-payment concern, and then how do we address that? So that's where we're at as of today. I have not made a decision, or the Board of Commissioners, in terms of how we move forward after that, but that's where we're at today's date.
Thank you. We talk about it some, and I wanted to make sure that we continue to do that, because as we're creating new units, I think it's also important that we keep the ones that we have in their homes as well. And so I appreciate the work that you're doing on that. We're working with the ARP people. We're going to have a right to counsel or full funding to be able to help some of the residents, and would like to work with MDHA on that as well. But please keep looking for tools. As we're looking for new building, to also keep looking for ways to keep the ones that we have in their homes as well. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Other questions? I'll just say it's been exciting to watch the Envision process happen everywhere, and I appreciate the work you've done to save those magnificent oak trees, and I hope y'all keep that up. Naming buildings after them is, I think, a great tribute to just what a great gift it is to give those tenants, a lovely setting to live in. So we appreciate that, along with all the other creative financing you've done as well. Are there any other questions from the council body? Dr. White, we appreciate it, and we will do economic development when they arrive. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.